Alright guys, so next video here is going to be on the engine, about the SRT4. So I'm going to pop the engine open right now. I haven't pulled the valve cover off just yet, but I pulled the bolts out. And pull this off actually right now. Start off right away just with pulling this thing off. I don't know what it looks like under there yet. I can tell it smells. Oh shoot, there's still some bolts stuck on. Okay. Definitely smells bad. Guess we'll just have to see here. Alright, so honestly, this engine doesn't look bad. As far as, I think the other engine looked pretty bad. It's pretty dark in it. But what do the cams look like? I guess they don't look too bad. I mean, it does, well, yeah. You can tell they weren't getting, just some of them especially, you can tell they weren't getting just a lot of oil. I think some of these over here look a little scratched up. You can't really feel it. Maybe just barely. But as far as the top end, it honestly doesn't look too bad. But probably gonna put the valve cover back on. Probably gonna have to put the valve cover back on, and then lift it up and actually turn it over. And I think we'll have to take a look at the rod bearings, crank, the main bearings, and see if that's all good. That could be a big issue. And I know even if we don't pull it all apart, we've got a whole bunch of seals we have to take care of. So we'll have to pull the engine off. Still attached to the transmission, so I'm gonna have to pull all that stuff off. Get it up on the. Oh, look at that! There's actually numbers on here. I had not actually seen that. Or I'm not sure what that's about. But get it up on the engine. Get it up on the engine stand. Flip it over. Take a look at the bottom, and hopefully it's good. Hopefully it's not too bad. The oil definitely smells pretty burnt, so hopefully we're not rebuilding a couple engines here. Alright guys, so head studs are out, everything's out. The engine is tipped a little bit this way, so it might be a little bit hard to see, but head is ready to come off. So far I haven't really noticed any damage, other than I think the cam right here on the camshaft itself. Well, okay, and over here, you can feel with my fingernail, I can feel grooves I don't even know what you call this, but in the head where the cam rides. So it honestly doesn't feel too bad. Like here, this one looks almost perfect. Well, there's a little scratch right there. Over here, they're a little bit worse. Feels smooth. So, all right, and this one felt like it was already coming off, so shouldn't take too much. Wow, that's black. That is very black. Cylinders look pretty good. All right, guys, got flipped over. Oil pan bolts are out. Yank this thing off, and see what it looks like under here. All right, guys, so we have the, what is it called? Where is it sitting at? The oil pump. I've got the oil pump off. I had to end up actually breaking off the sprocket here. It's the one right behind the crank pulley. Had to get that off to pull off the oil pump and ended up breaking it. But that's off now, and oil pump's off. So it looks like this right now. And I'm also wondering, because I think this would probably have to be here, if there is something you can put in place of this, because we're not going to run bounce shafts, and then obviously you don't need the chain. I wonder if there's something we can put in place, take this off, put in place of it, so there's something there to space it out how it needs to be. But on to the bottom end here, I am going to take off each of these rod caps. And I don't know if they're, some people say they're reusable. I don't think they really are, at least the bolts, because they're torque to yield, so they stretch. But pull that apart. Probably end up pulling apart. Actually, probably not, because it's sitting on the stand and it's connected to it. But if the rods are good, which you can see a little bit of side to side movement right there. See if he'll focus. You can see a little more right there. You can see a little side to side movement. I can't tell. Okay, yeah, you can see it down here too. I don't know if you can see that on camera. I don't know if that is all right or not. There's a little side to side movement, but I'm gonna pull the caps off, check the bearings. We'll probably have to put new bearings in anyways. So the cylinder walls do look, cylinder walls do look all right. So I'm hoping everything's good and everything else seems okay. So I'll probably just clean up the block and have to do bearings, well, piston rings. I think piston rings, because it had like 108 compression before we ran it without oil. So I can't imagine it's any better now. So probably piston rings. Pistons rods should be still good though. So I guess we'll take a look at that and just see what it looks like. Alright guys, so as you can tell, I have cylinder, well, 1, 2, and 3 pistons out. Pulled the rad caps. They honestly, they all look great. Like there's everything just super smooth. So I figured I'll pull this one off. I'll show you guys the bearings, show you guys what they look like. If they all look the same, there's no point showing you guys every single one of them, but show you guys what they look like. And then, yeah, and I'm keeping track of them and making sure everything goes back to the rod bolts, the exact same ones. Probably replace them anyways, but gotta make sure everything's done correctly. So, yeah, and I have them all labeled. So this one's got the 4 on it, and it's the arrow facing forward. Now, they are on the pistons. There is an F on this side, and I'll probably show that to you guys a little bit when I get this off. All right, so I hope you guys can see this right here. Just make sure you guys can actually see this here. So hopefully it'll focus. So everything feels super smooth. Like my finger's not catching on anything. Well, there are some little tiny, I don't know if you guys can see that right there. But my finger does kind of catch on that. But we'll probably just go through, do bearings, piston rings, and yeah, I guess we'll see where it goes from there. So and if you guys can see here, pretty much exact same thing. Feels super smooth. So just gonna keep track of these. And then yeah, if you can see right here, see if I can show you guys right here. Right there and right there, it's got F on it. So facing forward. So that's the way that direction is the front of the engine. So yep, and yeah, everything slides, feels real smooth. So it must not have ran without too much oil, because everything's still feeling pretty good. So I think we got lucky on this one, but we'll still go through. It didn't go too far that it actually didn't damage anything. So like I said, we'll probably go through, do bearings, piston rings. I still haven't seen the main bearings, but I'm gonna have to take it off the engine stand to take a look at those. So I'll get back to that in a little bit. All right, guys. So I got all the bolts out of, I'm not sure what you'd even call this, the cradle or whatever it is. The piece that fits over the crankshaft holds it all together. All the main bolts, all the other bolts on the side. I also not thought of this. Hadn't really thought of it earlier, but I pretty much, this is toward the front of the engine, pretty much just put holes, just punched them all into the top of the box here. And just so I know exactly where they go back, it probably wouldn't matter so much, but alright, now we should be ready to pull this thing out. I've taken this bolt out of the stand, so shouldn't be a big issue that I can see. Alright, we're gonna probably have to get a pry bar on that. All right. Yeah, it's fighting me a little bit. All right. Thing's still kind of stuck in the... shoot. Come on. All right. Honestly, bearings look great. Just have to pull that thing out of there now. Take a look at that, see what it says. But yeah, the bearings on the, let's call it the girdle. Bearings on the girdle. Honestly look pretty decent, so. Oh yeah, rear main seal, far as I know, never leaked once. It honestly looks pretty good, so maybe it was even switched out at some point in time. Never leaked once that I know of, so still pretty clean. We'll have to replace that too though. Alright, crankshaft. Coming out now. Alright. What's it called? The bearings stayed on the crane. Yeah, honestly, these bearings look great. At least to my knowledge. I'll bring you guys over here in a second. Show you guys what I'm looking at. Oh yeah, that one's got a lot of pitting on it. We'll have to replace them anyways, but this one shouldn't be too hard to rebuild. Alright, so these bearings, see if it'll focus. Yeah, this one right here, you can see there's a lot of pitting on it. So, probably a good idea we're catching this now, but at least we know we didn't actually blow up the engine. It would have been fine. We probably could have just put oil in it and it would have been fine. But yeah, honestly it looks great. see if I can. Crank might have to get polished. That's pretty smooth. This one. Yeah, right there. I can barely catch my fingernail on the iron right there. It's a little bit rough. Oh yeah, and this one's like perfect down here. Well, now there's another. Barely catch my fingernail on it. So that is all for this video with tearing down the engine. Honestly, not bad. We'll just have to, well, I guess I'm not really sure, but piston rings, bearings, and then I guess if we need to get the crank polished, probably. Then I guess that should, well, I guess we'll have to do all sorts of seals and stuff to the engine, but honestly not bad for what we thought was going to happen. So next video, I'm not really sure, probably going to be putting the engine back together, putting everything back in it, and yeah, guess I'll catch you guys on the next one.